What's up, my friends? Dustin Stelzer, Electrician U podcast. Rotag, my home dog that does all of our
EU podcast and Discord stuff, yeah.
We just talk shit on the Discord server pretty much all day.
Every day. Yeah.
Really inappropriate memes.
No, I'm pretty clean.
Yeah.
Somebody else.
We had to clean it up over the years. We got Chad German, Utah Electric here. For those of you that don't know who Chad is, introduce yourself.
I'm Chad German, Utah Electrician on Instagram, so.
You just reiterated what I said.
I know.
Come on, you're supposed to give more than that.
Okay, so Chad German, Master Electrician, electrical coordinator at an apprenticeship program, and out here at NECA.
So you're an instructor. That's how you and I got linked up.
Yeah.
We've done episodes before, but what about instructing actually do you get out of it? What made you decide I don't need to be in the field anymore? I actually love teaching.
Well, I had a guy there was a neighbor that said Mountain Land Technical College needed teachers, because there's more students than what they had teachers. And so I went and applied and got the job. And then when I noticed that other instructors were just kind of saying, read your book and let me know if you have any questions. And I did my best to teach. The students were really appreciative. And so, and then just to see the success in those students, it just kind of became, a big hook right there. And then the thirst of knowledge came. I got to know so that I can teach these guys. And then that became a hobby of I got to know more things. And then it's hey man, I can learn some pretty technical stuff. So kind of grew on itself.
Yeah, that spark is the thing for me.
Yeah.
Teaching an apprentice out in the field that doesn't get something, and then you explain it and they have to put their hands on it and all of a sudden they get it. And it's you got the light bulb went off. That aha moment. That's why I like teaching.
Yeah, it's awesome to see, to see the light bulb, but also, it's kind of humbling because I'm the coordinator now over the whole program, and to see the guys that have the different struggles. There's 500 and some students, and to just have different guys. One guy, I was kind of chewing out of class because they weren't bringing their books and they weren't paying attention, and this guy after came up and talked to me. He's like, man, my wife is in the NICU with our baby all the time, and I go there to be with them, and then I go to work, and then I come to school. He's like, I'm going to give the best I can, but I'm going to get a 75, and I'm okay with it. And it gave me a different perspective because I'm not that type of person, but at the same time, I would have to be if my family was in that situation. So it's those type of things that are kind of humbling too, to just see people and help them in their time of need type thing.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I've gotten out of teaching or just instructing in general is that you have to understand the people that you're teaching. You can't just treat everybody like the same way and then expect, well, why are they not doing this? Because this just worked for me in the past. It's no, you really got to get to know your people. And understand what's going on in their lives and understand where they're at and the level of seriousness that they care about everything. Not everybody's going to care the same, and perfect example, you would have never found that out. You would have thought he was just some kid that didn't give a shit.
Well, you're walking in late every day. What's your problem? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got problems, bro.
Yeah,
I'm still here. I'm still showing up.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, on that same note, I teach continuing ed, have a private company where I do consulting and things. And when you brought up
Chad German, your actual name associated with
it's
right?
Chad German Electrical Consulting.
Yeah.
So I do a little bit of traveling and teaching that way too. But to what you're saying to the audience, if I'm teaching a bunch of maintenance electricians at the Utah State Prison, or that's one audience. Or I went to the Utah National Guard and I taught there, and those guys are a different breed, and so then you go teach high school students in the daytime that are part of the apprenticeship program, and the audiences are all different, and so you have to learn to be yourself, but at the same time know how to sway an audience, if you will. So it's almost entertaining at the same time as educating. Otherwise you're dry eye, like that all the time.
Do you like speaking in front of audiences, or do you like more intimate?
No, I don't want to say. I don't know if I like it. I'm okay with it. It's just natural for me. It's not, I'm okay with doing it. It doesn't bother me, but I don't. There's a few audiences I've had that have been pretty big that kind of get you I get more nervous that if someone asks a really hard question I don't know, that used to make me nervous, but now it's more of knowing how to navigate that. I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room to answer a question, right? Yeah. And I don't have to have all the answers. And once I was okay with that, then my classes, I was okay with being in front of whoever.
I think being comfortable saying, I have no idea, I'll find out, I'll try to find out.
Yeah.
But being in the, that you don't know something, or when you're wrong, being holy shit, I was wrong.
Yeah.
All right, cool, I learned something. people love that. They love a teacher that's willing to be like, oh, dude, he's just human like the rest of us.
Exactly.
You know? It shows me it's okay to be wrong too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
I think it is what the students. I do have some teachers that are like, no, this is what I'm. And students are pretty smart. And if they're off a little, they'll call you out. And the teacher's like, nope. And I think if you are human and you can do that stuff and be wrong, students really like it. So.
Yeah.
Now, when you have people come into the school as an apprentice, do you guys have like a program to get them tools, or they pay for tools as part of their tuition, or is it kind of like they buy their own stuff over time?
So we have tools for in the lab that everybody can use, and then the way Utah works is it's in the field experience. It's kind of separate from school. We get hands-on, but just prepping them for the journeyman test, because we have a practical test that you have to pass. So you have a code test, a theory test, and a practical. And so we focus on motor controls and the different pipe bending things, obstacles that they have to do. So a lot of, like, if they're getting ready for the tests, they're in there. But a lot of them, like, they get into fourth year, they want their bender to be practicing with it. They'll take to the test. They don't want some generic one. So
this isn't an apprenticeship to journeyman. It's a journeyman like prep, master prep classes and whatnot.
So it's you go to school for 4 years, and then you can take 3 journeyman tests after you're done with 4 years of school. And then you have to wait to go take your master's after 4 years. And then
so you have to be a journeyman for 4 years?
Yeah, or unless you have an associate's degree, then it's 2 years.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, Texas is like that. You have to be a 2-year journeyman before you can test for your master.
Okay.
But we also have a second year license. We have a residential license.
Yeah, we have the same one.
Okay.
A residential journeyman after 2 years. So a lot of guys, our school is not number one, but we have the most amount of students going through and passing the residential test right now. So it's a good stopping point. A lot of guys that high up in the state are saying they want to get rid of that license, but they can't.
It helps contractors.
Yeah.
Because I can actually have guys that know what they're doing, that I know they know what they're doing, and I'm certifying my own guys. I know that they can run these jobs, and I can spread out 4 or 5 jobs and having somebody that's got 2 or 3 years of experience, and I'm still checking on them and making sure everything's fine. But I find it helps contractors because I don't need to have somebody that has an unrestricted journeyman's license that does like industrial work to wire a home. I just need somebody that's for the last 2-3 years has been wiring homes, understands how to build a service, understands how to pull Romex.
Right.
As a residential wireman myself, we're about to test for one. Getting rid of that license just seems like it's going to handicap. Like you said, you're not going to have licensed guys to go out and do service changes, rough-ins, where you don't need to have a journeyman on site because it's just pulling Romex through walls.
Right.
For the most part, and you're not doing service calculations already done by your boss. That you're going in building it to spec. If you don't have that license anymore, I've talked to a lot of journeymen in Texas. A lot of the commercial guys, they see the wireman's license as a joke. Even though if you go to any company, say I have a wireman's license, you're going to get paid a couple dollars more and probably given keys to a truck faster than if you just don't. You're a third year apprentice. Okay, well you have no license, so we can't give you keys, can't give you anything.
Yep.
And a lot of companies over here, they top you out as an apprentice at like $18 an hour. In order to make more money, you have to go wireman or get your journeyman's license. They just top you out until you get those tests and licenses done.
Yeah. I think what happens in at least the state of Utah is a lot of the guys that are part of the board, right, the licensing board, they're big contractors, commercial, and so they look at the residential license as something that's unnecessary. But they're the ones making the decisions at the end of the day. Right now, there are tons of contractors making a lot of money, taking care of their companies and being successful doing residential. And so it's only a matter of time before residential contractors get into those positions. And so it's almost like, well, you don't want to stop after 2 years. Well, that's the person's choice. And that's what I always say, because I go to those meetings. Like, if somebody wants to do 2 years of school and then get paid, $30 an hour to rope houses, who cares? That's their choice. Yeah. Instead of going to 4 years and get 45 or whatever it is in Utah, it's, that's their choice to do that. And there's different pace. One thing about our industry that's unique is you can get into whatever you want. Like I got into education. My brother-in-law's trying to get into doing maintenance. You got industrial. You can get, so trying to just focus on commercial seems a little silly to me. But I don't think they have any. They have too many residential journeymen right now that they couldn't get rid of the license.
Yeah.
And like you said, it would cripple the contractors, so they just can't.
I think so. Yeah. And I think too, like if you give somebody a 2-year point that they can achieve something, them having to study more to pass a test to be able to get that at 2 years rather than, because some companies, they don't have any kind of education structure. So these guys are like after 4 years, just starting to open a code book and like trying to figure this stuff out. You know?
Yeah.
So having a 2-year license kind of makes people have to at an earlier point, especially with non-union shops, have to start studying to have something to pass to be able to get more money. So
Yeah.
I think just keeping people thirsty or, you know, hungry to pass that is another.
Yeah. I think it's a good stepping stone too. My son, you know, 20 years old, go take that license, become a residential journeyman. He's doing residential now. And then, so you could get a residential master's license at 4 years in Utah, and then just own your own company, your own residential company. The downside to that is to get your normal master's, you have to have then somebody sponsor you that's a regular master, right? So one of our instructors, he's got his residential master's, owns his own little thing on the side, and then I sponsor with my master's license so that when he does commercial work, he can put those hours towards doing commercial. So it's kind of there's loopholes in everything.
I think also one thing the wireman's license does lets people step up into running jobs and starts building the skills of having to develop material lists, keep guys working. That's a big step up from just, you know, running wire or running pipe all day. You start getting the skills of actually running bigger and bigger jobs.
Yeah, I get asked all the time, like students or like people wanting to get in the trade, and they're like, hey, what do you recommend I do? I was get into residential first couple years, get into residential, because you're right, you start doing house after house after house, you learn quicker. To where when I got in, I was commercial, and then you want to do large commercial, but I was sweeping the floor, then I'm loading the Connex, and then all of a sudden I'm bending pipe, and then I'm pulling wire, and by the time I'm 2.5 years in, I start understanding circuitry. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I really think that you could get those skills out. You know, you'll get where your learning curve is fresh when you first get in. That's smart to get into residential.
Because in residential, you touch a little bit EMT, PVC, seal tight. You do all that circuitry troubleshooting. You touch that in a very condensed amount of time. Especially if you're on service, you're kind of bouncing around from house to house to house to house.
Yeah,
and
especially service.
Yeah, and you get a really good base of understanding. And you know, like you said, a lot of commercial guys that talk to and across our Discord, across even here in Texas, they're serving Connex boxes for 6 months. Then they're bending pipe for 2 years. And then they enter all the circuits in the panel, and then they start learning troubleshooting skills, and they're 4, 5, 6 years into the trade. And I did all that my first 6 months of being in service. Yeah, even in like wiring up a panel, I remember when I went through it, 4th year, there's signs on the pan in the electrical rooms that say 4th years and up only, you know, and so the first years are looking in, they're eating donuts, you're like, I thought they were working in there, get out of here, you know. And so it's like, you don't get to even make up a panel sometimes in commercial, especially large companies. And so we get into residential and can wire up those panels and understand circuitry and wire sizing, stuff like that. That's vital.
Yeah, you know, it's really funny. My approach to having an apprentice now, I've always been the like jump in, do everything myself, go get this, bring it to me so I can keep doing what I'm doing, and treating them as just like runners. It's way different now. I want them to be really good, really fast. So I put my tools down and I'm like, get over here, grab this, do this, you're doing everything. And I'll get like 4 or 5 apprentices and be like, all right, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this. And I will let them do everything and be my hands. So they're only getting experience and I'm not having to work. And it was there was just this like shift all of a sudden when I realized a lot of people use apprentices as their gophers, but it doesn't really get them a lot of experience. It's just making me as the journeyman way more efficient at what I'm doing. But if you can train them faster to get to know more, then you're gonna have 2 trained guys working with each other every single day. And I just find that having them know more faster is so much more beneficial for me.
Yeah.
The only way it's going to happen is if they are actually hands-on doing this.
Yeah, one thing that I find very interesting, and I like it, but it's a struggle for me in teaching and being a foreman, which as a foreman, most of the time you're a teacher as well, right? Yeah. Is that like knowing when too much is too much and when to challenge, because guys can become complacent and you can have them do complacent things and then you're okay with doing your stuff and they're doing their things. I know a guy that he came to work for the company I just left before I came to the school. This kid kills it. He's running a division for this company now. But when he was a student of mine and then he quit his company for 2 years, all they had him do was nail on boxes.
Wow.
And the boss was like, don't go to school. Don't be an
Yeah.
electrician. So then he went to school anyway, and then we hired him, and now he's running crew. Like there's crews of guys under him that he's like a superintendent now. And so he definitely had the skill set, the drive, all that stuff, but they were holding him back by just giving him one step at a time. And that's just a thing that as a foreman, I have a tendency to overteach sometimes too. Like, you know, I had one student, the one apprentice, Abby, who I could just tell her things, and she was an auditory learner, so she would be fine. I'd lie her out for 45 minutes. 8 hours later, she's got everything done. And I said, that's one person out of hundreds that I've taught. You know?
Most people, you got to give them one specific task.
Do this
you
for
give them
45
three,
minutes.
They forget all three and walk away, and they're like, wait, what did they just say?
Or, worse in my opinion, they get all 3 tasks like 70% done.
Yeah.
And
That's wrong.
Maybe not wrong, but then you have to go back and finish all 3 of these tasks. And that's like, well, I got them all mostly done. It's like, well, that doesn't help me. I'd rather you just get 1.5 things done than 3 things partly done.
I was doing a charter school one time, and I gave a bunch of devices to this guy, and I said, okay, go put the devices in. And then when we went and turned on breakers, they were just popping, right? What the crap? And I go, and he literally just mounted the device. Like, I wonder why he was so fast. I should have double checked. But he was just putting them in. He didn't wire anything up. So wires were just popping. I was like, you took that a little too literal when I say go put the receptacles in, you know?
Oh, man, we had an apprentice earlier that a few weeks ago probably a couple months ago that we hired that said that, oh yeah, I've got 3 years of experience, I know this, I know that. And then we get him out in the field and he puts GFIs in, but he doesn't, he takes all the grounds and just like folds them in the back of the box. There's no white to black, doesn't matter. There's no like hot side or line side, load side, just throwing fucking wires in, and especially not putting grounds in. Just thought he could leave them off. I'm like, it's a ground fault GFCI. You know, like, how do you not know? But like hiding things, that was the other thing. Instead of asking questions, being afraid. So I think wherever he came from, he was like berated maybe, or like treated in a certain way where he felt like he needed to hide that he didn't know something. So he would do crazy shit. Like he would take, big, huge 4-aught wires and put them in a Polaris tap. He wouldn't strip any of the ends out. He would just put the whole wire, insulation, and everything in, and then tighten the lever. And then we'd go like try to energize a panel, and it's like, why the fuck is this not working?
Wow.
And it's,
that's some crazy
oh my
stuff.
God, that's so like. There's no way.
Like, what are you even
experience.
thinking? Yeah.
See,
But it just goes in teaching. Fear can fuck with it. It can make people not want to ask something.
But I think that goes to show as well. There's different mentalities within people, and I'm around a lot of students, and sometimes guys are super wicked smart, but they're not teachable because of pride, or because they think they're so smart that they're not teachable. I've even had some instructors.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that. We have a lot of people that come on our Discord and they're like, hey, I want to be an apprentice, and I've watched all of your videos, like I've done all this research. I'm okay, that's cool, that's fantastic. You know that. Take everything you know on your first day, leave it in the truck. Do not bring that like you know more than your journeyman does. Take your pride, throw it in the trash. You haven't done anything to earn it yet.
Yeah.
Go in. You're green. You're new. You know nothing. Don't question what your journeyman does unless you know it's. Unless you are 110% sure it's gonna burn the house down. Don't question it.
Yeah.
Like you don't go in there asking your journeyman every single little thing because you think you know something because you watch a YouTube video on that.
Yeah.
That is something I've told plenty of apprentices that come into the Discord, and they're like, I want to learn. Okay, well that's awesome, but like let's pace it back a little bit. Let's slow you down. Like understand that your journeyman isn't going to do things the way that you see it on the videos, because he's not Dustin. He's not any of us. That's your journeyman. You're going to have to get used to his habits and his mannerisms. You may get a guy that doesn't want to teach you. He wants you to sit there, watch him do the work, and then learn something from that, and not ever explain that. And then you have to figure out how to learn. That's what the Discord. That's what I think what you wanted with the channel is. You're working, but you don't know. Your journeyman's not teaching you. So how do you learn from that? So back in high school, I had a psychology teacher who he told us that repetition is key to learning, and he would be walking down the street. He's seen all his old students, and they do this because they remembered back in high school they said repetition is key to learning, and he would say it and then keep on walking. The high school students would get a little bit of a giggle out of it. So when you have apprentices, like you need to be on them about making sure that they do everything the right way. Whether it's twisting wire nuts, doing GFCI, line side, load side, just making sure it's in their mind that you're going to come check their work and that it needs to be right.
Yeah. And back to your point with like when you're talking about like knowing their challenges, my brother-in-law's in the field, and he's done with school. He's trying to take his journeyman test. But a challenge I had with him, because he worked with a foreman that was like, do it my way, only my way, which is, I get it to a certain point, but then there becomes a point where it's like, I want you to bring me, he'd bring me things and say like, Chad, I don't know what to do here. And I'm like, yes, you do. And he'd be like, well, I can do this, this, or this. Okay, pick one, right? So I remember my foreman saying when I got to be a third year, like, hey man, if you can stay 3 steps ahead of me, you're 2 steps ahead, or you're 1 step ahead of the guy that I liked before, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, that guy's 2 steps ahead of him. So we'd pull up to the job, and I'd see we'd have PVC, so I'd unload the PVC, get the glue out, get the trencher, turned on. And so sometimes if we have that attitude, like shut up and just listen, it does stop the learning process in general too. But I get what you're saying when you first start, when you're green up to that first 2 years, yeah, just shut up and take it all in. But once you start being able to, and as a foreman, that's that hard part of like, okay, is this guy ready for me to teach him how to handle tasks? And it's easy by, okay, can you do this? How long does that take you? Okay, now I can give you a little bit bigger projects. Like Abby, the girl I was talking about, she's running crews already, and she's not got any license yet. But she's better than a lot of the guys that probably have licenses, because she's learned how to manage her time and look for those things. So I say, bring me a solution, not a fire to put out.
Yes.
And then stay 3 steps ahead of me, because the guy that I like more than you is 2 steps ahead of me.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I got some guys that constantly call me all day long, like 8 or 9 calls, 14 text messages by the end of the day, just always fishing for, hey, I don't know what to do. Hey, how do I ran into this? It's like I stop answering their questions at a certain point, because it's like I want you to figure out what to do when I'm not around. And I want you to think through things, because a lot of the things you're asking me are things that if you just thought for a little while, you'd get it right away.
Yeah.
And so like if it's really a hot fire and it's a crazy thing, call me and say, this is a hot fire. I need you for this.
Yeah. See, I always, like, if I have a problem with my boss, I'm already trying to think of a solution. And I have a solution. I'm just making sure that's what he wants me to do before I do whatever the situation is. I'm like, hey, I'm running into this problem. Pretty sure if I do this, and this, it'll fix it. Yeah. What's your perspective? He's like, good, bad. Okay, we're on the next one.
Yeah, so you're still bringing
running up like, oh, what do we do?
Yeah, you're bringing him the solution, but he's putting the green stamp on it, right?
Yeah.
And just for the record, my brother-in-law watches your stuff, so he's doing good now. He makes a lot of great decisions, and I recommend him for anybody if he's looking for a job.
Cool. Well, dude, it was really good to meet you finally, like in person.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Meet you.
It was meet everybody.
An online electrical bromance over the years, but I actually get to meet you, and you too.
Yeah,
you're like part of my community, and I know you by your tag name, but I actually got some like.
Yeah, I'm just like an hour down south.
I know, it's so crazy. I've already tried to convince him to quit his job and come and work
twice.
He's in Georgia.
I'm probably the only one in your community that said no to come work with you.
Yeah, and it's like legitimately, I could throw a rock and hit you. You're working near me all the time.
Yeah.
That's good.
You must have it.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, you must have a great employer then.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you.
All right. See you guys in the next one.